I would begin with the formal introduction of Mr. Rith Basu, but honestly speaking, he is the best person to introduce himself. If you have watched our webinar video, we have tried to brief in his work, his plethora of work over there. We shall try to show the video again here. But in the last session, I found that the audio was not clear. When I shared the video, you were able to see it but couldn't hear. So we shall try to upload it in YouTube and share the link with you all. As of now, let us have a verbal introduction of Mr. Rith Basu. I would request Mr. Basu to turn on his video so that we can begin with the session.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Ma'am, I don't think your audio is audible to me. Hello?
Am I audible now?
Yes, now you are.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Sorry for the inconvenience. Mr. Rith Basu is right now heading the Public Relations Department. He is head of the Department of Public Relations, Branding and Digital Marketing at Apollo Clinicals Hospital, Kolkata. Before joining this industry, till last year, he was in the field of print journalism. He was working with the Telegraph for the last 17 years. He covered the health beat, weather beat, and especially the sports beat. His special interest is in sports, which is why, despite being a part of the City Bureau, he has got the scope, the opportunity to interview luminaries like Boris Becker, Maradona, Ted Dexter, Steve Waugh, Ian Botham, and definitely Indians like Sachin Tendulkar, Saurav Ganguly, etc. In his current assignment, he is focused on using various tools, including the social media and the traditional media, to showcase the good work being done by the doctors and management at Apollo in this difficult time. And we know why it is difficult. So it is probably a very right time to listen to the PR head of a hospital during this time. Over to you, Mr. Basu.
Hello,
Mr. Basu,
everyone. Yeah. Yes, please.
I might have missed on the most important events of your life. If you could just give a self-introduction before you begin.
I think you have covered everything more or less. I mean, very kind words. Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone else for who have joined, taken time out to join this session. I would try to make this interesting and interactive for you. And as ma'am pointed out, this is the time of coronavirus, and I hope all of you are taking adequate precautions. The situation is very bad, so you can't overstress on the point that maintain whatever protocols that the doctors are advising, that you're getting to hear from the chief minister and everyone else. You can't overstress the point. Okay, coming back to the topic. See, content in communication is obviously very important. You can't overstress that. The words making up the title of this interactive session is also very, very apt. Content is king. So to use a cricket analogy, and ma'am mentioned about my affinity for the sport. See, it's like in communication, content is like the captain's decision making during a match. He makes those right decisions on the field, the right bowling changes. He thinks on his feet and changes the batting order around, and you win the match. Similarly, to get the content right is getting half the battle, is winning half the battle. And more than that, when you get the content right, you need the tools, with which tools to communicate that to the audience in your mind. So in communication, content has to be very strong. If your flowery languages and flashy designs, all that can come, but at the core of it, your content has to be very strong. So am I audible to everyone? Ma'am, can I be heard? Hello? Somali, are you okay? Thank you. Thank you, Vishakha, for the feedback.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm so sorry. I was not able to unmute myself.
All right, no problem. So, for your end, or what you desire, is to paint a favorable picture of yourself. So I'll just start a presentation, so it might be a little more interesting.
Yes, we are able to see the screen now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If you could go to the slideshow mode. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So your basic idea is to sort of paint a favorable picture of your company or your brand, so that when the crucial moment of decision making comes, your consumers would choose you over your competitors. This is a very interesting exercise as well. So and all this is pretty basic, but I'm going through this because I believe we have a mixed audience here. The and I don't know if everyone is familiar with the basics, so I just went through the basics. But the thing is, having said this, the exercise of excelling, being better than your competition, is what is very interesting. The ways and means by which this can be achieved is even more interesting. And I would like to take you through this journey, take it like a practical class, say. So if you take the example of Apollo, for example. The problem that we had at hand initially was that due to coronavirus, the footfall in the hospital had, you know, come to a knot almost. The corridors would be empty. There would be hardly anyone in the parking lot. If all of you, come to if you've ever come to Apollo during normal times, you'd see that it take 5 minutes just to park your car, and then maybe another 5-10 minutes to take the car out. The rush is that much. But what we had was, a pretty deserted hospital for a very long time, and that couldn't go on. We couldn't let that go on. So that was the seriousness of the problem, and the seriousness of the problem was not only about the business part of it, which is important, but you see, there were people like cancer patients who were not coming to the hospital because of fear. So we had to take this fear out of their psyche. What can happen, for example, in a cancer patient who is, say, in February, the person might be stage 1. There are some fast growing cancers in which, if he doesn't get himself treated by June, July, by now, it might be stage 4. And the doctor's hands would be tied, they won't be able to help him. So we had to get the patients back in for our own interests and for the interests of everyone else as well. So how did we go about doing that? So that is the question. So the first we needed to identify the problem, which to a certain degree I think we did. Uh, Once the problem is identified, then you have to look for answers. So we had, and then we had to choose the tools with which to get our point of view across to them, to the audience. So these are the things that we sort of that form the basis of the this is the content. So now you're coming into the topic. This is the content, the things that we wanted to tell the people. What was that? So everyone was afraid of contracting the disease, coronavirus. Like, say, if the lockdown were to be withdrawn, it was withdrawn, say on 1st June, if it was withdrawn, the most daring of you who are listening to this, if a mall next to you would have been open, if a mall next to you would have been open with a movie hall, what you could have taken the risk of going to the movie hall and catching a movie. But, and I've seen this happen, if someone falls ill and needs to come to the hospital, you would think twice before doing that. And especially for a hospital like Apollo and many others, like say Amri and all, where it was known that corona patients are there. So you would feel scared. So that scare is what we need to take out of your psyche. And so these are the tools that we use that you can see on your screen. Uh, We have three buildings in the hospital: the main building, the oncology building, and the daycare building. So in one portion, in a secluded portion of the daycare building only, you had the COVID patients housed, admitted patients. So this needed to be communicated to everyone. What else? So these are some of the, if you can go through this quickly, some of the other things that we did. Staff coming to the hospital were provided with transport so that they don't come with others who you don't know are infected or not infected, and they can carry the infection to your hospital. So we didn't want that to happen. Temperature of not only outsiders but even of the staff coming into the hospital were measured, and right from the CEO to the group D staff, everyone's temperature was taken. No risks taken. These are some more points. We had a separate emergency for COVID patients or COVID-like people with COVID-like symptoms coming in. They would not go into your emergency. So if someone falls down and say has a deep cut, you don't bring that person to the emergency where COVID patients are brought. So these are the things that we did. We have a dedicated OT, operation theater, for COVID patients where others are not operated. So that one OT, only COVID patients, it's sanitized, everything is done, but still only COVID patients there. Separate MRI, CT scan. We also ensure that everyone entering is wearing a mask. That is pretty basic. And we've placed what we call 5M mats at every entrance, which is soaked with 1% sodium hypochlorite to prevent any sort of infection coming in. So once you walk over those mats, they suck in all the viruses. These are some of the things we did to the OPDs. We kept the doors open so that you don't have to hold the handle and open it. So contamination chances is minimized. Temperature is measured with manual thermometer at the entrance, and then again in the OPD area, manually it's checked. Also, your pulse oximeter is used to check the oxygen saturation. For those of you who know people or in your family or anywhere else who are showing slight COVID-like symptoms, it's very important to have a pulse oximeter at home so that if you see the reading at 92, 93, 94, it's time to go to a hospital and get yourself checked. So that is something that is done here. So other things that we did was we spread out our consultations, OPD consultations, so that there was no crowding in that area. A doctor would see, say, 10, 15 patients in a day, and two doors side by side, two chambers side by side would not be open at the same time, so that social distancing could be maintained. So apart from that, there are a lot of other things that you can go. I'll not bore you by going to all these things, but this is the content. This is the content of what the communication would be. Now you have to carry this forward. So you've got your content. I hope everyone is understanding or listening. Or if you have any doubts, I don't know, ma'am, if you could intimate me if someone has any.
Yeah, I would request all the attendees to key in their questions in the question and answer box. There is a tab called Q&A. Please key in your questions.
If there are questions, comments, suggestions, anything, I'm open. Yeah. You can just tell me. So you've got your content. So my content in this scenario was to go to people with something solid content that our hospital is safe. You can come here. So fortunately, I look after all these three departments: branding, digital marketing, and of course, very importantly, PR, where we had all sorts of tools at our disposal. As you can see, we made short videos, and it's very interesting. I'll tell you a story about the short videos. Videos, positive stories in newspapers and news portals. You know, newspapers at that point, say March end, April beginning, were all full of scary stories about coronavirus. No one seemed to know how it spread. It was airborne, not airborne, all sorts of things. But we needed some positive stories to come out at that point. So what we did was we slowly started, building up sort of a repertoire of stories, positive stories, so that we could keep then hitting the reporters, the our audience basically, with constant stories. So we built a repertoire of stories like that. We went to radio and other social media posts as well. So the first thing was the videos that we did. And at that point, the first hurdle that we faced was no one was prepared to come to the hospital. Professional people, we have 3 or 4 agencies. We do a lot of work with videos. Apollo does. But the regular agencies that we work with, who are, have agreements with us, they flatly refuse. Say, we are not going to the hospital. But remember, we, people who work here, doctors, nurses, of course, and even people like us who are in the administration, we came regularly. And we saw that if you follow protocols, if you follow those little things of hygiene that ought to be followed, then nothing will happen. Probably, if you're lucky, nothing will happen. But they were not ready to take that risk. There were people, they were not getting work. But even for finding work with a brand like Apollo at that point, they were not prepared to come. So what we did was we started this. We had to do the script writing and screenplay, everything ourselves. We just got a camera person who was bolder than the others. Not our first choice, not our second choice, not even probably our fourth choice, but he was ready to come. And we started the shooting. So we did short videos where the doctors themselves communicated to the audience. The audience in this case would be your social media users. So they made these videos. So what I'll do is I'll share the first one of this, one video with you, and then we'll take it from there.
Yes, if you could share that YouTube screen, stop sharing this PPT and share the YouTube window.
Okay.
Mr. Basu,
Welcome to yes. Apollo Hospital.
It's yes. Not visible. Just stop sharing the PPT. Just click on stop share, and then again you share the YouTube window alone. Yeah.
Yes, I'll do that.
Yeah. Yes. Now you share the YouTube window.
It's come? Ma'am, it's come?
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. We can hear also.
Thank you. Welcome to Apollo Hospital, Calcutta. We are serving our community and beyond with all patients for 24 hours. We are continuing our dialysis service, radiation oncology, medical oncology, daycare chemo, as well as we have outpatient department looking after radio specialties. Are performing bronchoscopy, EBAS, endoscopy, colonoscopy, and possibly only this ERCP. We are taking utmost care to keep
the entrances of the buildings get checked once again, where their history is taken for any travel, any fever, cough and cold, and then only, and their temperature is checked, after which they are allowed to go into the building. In the OPD, we keep the main doors open so that no one has to touch the handle of the door. Once they come in, their temperature is measured a second time by a thermometer, followed by checking their saturation. After which they are allowed to go into the doctor's chambers. The chairs in which they are sitting, we ensure that the middle chair is kept vacant. Coming through appointments, OPD timings are staggered so that the patients do not come at one time and crowd the lobby. We are a very safe hospital, and patients can come without fear.
Thank you. Very good to see it. Right now, I have a question or rather an opinion in the chat box from our HOD, Professor Devanjan Banerjee. He says, if you could talk about your real experience to handle the crisis situation during the pandemic. But sir, I would request you to take your own time. These are the questions that have come in that we can discuss in between.
Yes.
Like I have another question from Oishiki Pondopadhyay. She is asking, does content promotion always have to be backed by monetary resources? So she is asking this tricky question.
Very interesting. Yeah. So if I just see, there are two more videos. I think we are running out of time a little bit. There are two more videos which I think I'll skip for now. If we have time, we'll come back to them later. I'll show you. I'll just share audio with you. Just one second. Okay, let's see if you can hear this. This is the radio.
So sir, just press it. Yeah, press the play button, make it no, and maybe if you have it in your hard disk, not embedded in the PowerPoint, if you have it as a separate file, you could play from there. If it could be louder.
ওপিডিতে ডাক্তার দেখানো নিয়ে চিন্তিত? তবে জেনে রাখুন অপোলো গ্ল্যানিগালস হসপিটালস এর নিয়মিত স্যানিটাইজেশন, সকলের থার্মাল স্ক্যান।
It was perfectly audible. Wonderful. We could hear it.
ও ট্রাভেল ডিটেইলস রেকর্ডিং, কনসালটেশন রুমে যাওয়ার আগে ম্যানুয়াল থার্মোমিটার ও পালস অক্সিমিটারে চেকিং এর মতো ব্যবস্থা বাধ্যতামূলক করা হয়েছে। এক একজন ডাক্তার দিনে সর্বাধিক 15 জন পেশেন্টস দেখবেন। শুধু মনে রাখবেন প্রায়র অ্যাপয়েন্টমেন্টস আবশ্যক। নির্দ্বিধায় কল করুন 9804000240 বা 9804000245। As always, Apollo Gleneagles Hospitals remains as safe as houses.
Yeah, thank you. We were able to hear it. So now, Oishiki's question, she wants to know whether it is always to be backed with monetary resources, content promotion. And Devanjan sir wants to know that how the present crisis through which almost all private hospitals are going through, and how are you dealing with it?
Yes, so that is why I showed you these first the videos and then the audio. So video, I'll just show you one more slide and then I'll come to those questions.
Sure.
See, these are some of the coverages that we have been able to generate in
Yes,
this
sir.
time, all during this COVID period. There are more. We've just made a selection. So these are all come out in the top papers. Like this is there's one in the bottom right, that's Ananda Bazar. We have Pratidin. We have another Ananda Bazar. We have Sanmark, and one in news portal called ABP Takma. So now I'll just go back to the question. One second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the audio that you just played right now, that was a jingle. So we could put it in the advertisement category.
Yes,
On the other hand, these newspaper articles, they are clear proof of the public relations, the liaison
Yes.
that you have with media field, as a
Yeah.
result of which they had made this as a report.
It's not only me. It's see. This is also very important. Something that I wanted to clarify. I have come from the background of Telegraph, having spent 12 years there. So ABP Group is known to me. The chief reporters are known to me. That makes it slightly easier. But there are other houses, and it doesn't always work like that. So your brand, like Apollo has had a relationship with these publications, media houses for a very long time, and that's necessary. So both your PR person and the brand itself. If I were to become the PR person today for a very little known nursing home, these stories wouldn't have come out probably. And so that is another thing. So the brand and the person representing the brand have to have a relationship with the media houses. So these,
now that Mr.
Yeah.
Basu, you just mentioned about your connection with the Telegraph, could I
Yes.
just, with your permission, play the video which merely summarizes your career?
Yeah, it only covers. I'll tell you something. Ajay, you play the video first. I'll tell you later.
Yeah, please let me know if it is audible. Is it audible?
Yes. Once, and I'll have to stop
Wait.
sharing the screen.
Yeah, please stop sharing the screen. Then I'll start sharing the screen.
Yes.
And we will try to give a brief idea to our participants on your 17 years of journey as the reporter with the Telegraph, and then your shift to PR. This is where your career graph makes it more interesting, according to me. Please let me know if it is audible. Audible?
Yes, I can hear it, but it's breaking a little, but.
But somehow it could be heard, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So that was his brief journey, which I could somehow gather from few 5 pictures.
Yeah, thank you so much. What I have to say about it is that this sums up only a part of it, because we have met lots of politicians, we've met lots of police officers, we've met film stars. But to me, these people you saw in the pictures, they are the real heroes to me. So every time I go somewhere, I don't take a selfie or I don't ask someone to pose for a picture with me. I did so with those cricketers. That's why, and Boris Becker, of course. And that's why they are there. And thank you so much for making the effort to sort of get this thing together. Thank you so much. So, ma'am, there was another question, I think, from
regarding the monetary thing.
Yes, Oishika, I think, asked the
Oishiki
question.
Bondopadhyay, does content promotion always have to be backed up by monetary resources?
Yeah, so that was in the 3 videos that you, the video and the 2 other slides that you saw. The radio, of course, we paid for it. The radio you have to pay. The content of the video that we made, so there was a little bit of payment. It was made at a very cheap rate at that point. The production of it cost money, but the sharing on the social media and then the organic boost that it received. Some of them have been seen by 30,000 people. So you see, that is organic boost. There are techniques, there are tools, there are experts in the field. We have agencies working for us who make it count. Everything, every small step that we take, they ensure that it reaches to the maximum amount, the maximum people. So the print stories that you saw, the stories that came in the news portal, you did not have to pay for. The organic reach attended by the social media post, you don't have to pay for it. You had to pay for the radio. And there were other social media posts as well through which we tried to go to people and say that, we are safe. In radio, we took another step forward after that. We came with a second campaign in which we said that 5 early callers of every super specialty, who want to consult doctors of different super specialties, each super specialty, 5 people per day will get consultations at 500 rupees. That was the second. These, I'm telling you, because these are tools using which we had the content, and using these tools, we sort of try to make an impact.
Sir, regarding this thing, I have also heard of this offer in radio that every 5th customer or something, there's a reduction.
It's first 5 customers every day, every specialty.
So this is an advertising gimmick. I personally believe that actually erodes the image of a hospital. Apollo is a very well-known name, but when we come to know that just like a lottery ticket, or let's say a biscuit packet, buy one get one free, if a hospital of this repute starts distributing these offers, they are advertisements, but do they affect
all
PR?
The time. Even in happy times we do it. This is a very sad time, but even in happy times we do it. We give coupons at different different competitions, say a chess competition that we are sponsoring. People who win, they get free coupons. Every participant gets some discount coupons. So this is not something new, and this should not harm the reputation, because the reputation has been built over a very long period of time. And even if it is harmed for a while, when you listen to that jingle on your radio, when you come to the hospital and when you see that everything is back to normal, everything is so hunky-dory, you like it. And then that is the lasting impression you have, not what you felt while listening to the jingle. And also another thing is that in a time like this, you have to take drastic measures. We've never seen a pandemic like this. Even our grandfathers have probably not seen. There was a Spanish flu was there in the previous century, previous millennium, you could say. But here, this is something extraordinary that we are facing, and there will have to be extreme measures. So measures like this. See, when your coffers are eroding, when you get 20-30% of the business that you usually do get, so then you have to come up with things. You have to rake your brains. You have to forget everything else and try to up those numbers. And those numbers have been upped. I'll tell you, for at one time, say from 40-50 patients, now we are back to around 400, 500, 600 sometimes. It did not happen only because of my whatever efforts my team has put in. It's not because of that. It's probably happened also because buses have started running. The lockdown has been withdrawn for the most part, and a lot of things have come into place. People have gained the confidence to come out of their homes, and all these things. But I would like to believe that the endeavors that we put in through the various mediums like radio, print, and these short videos that have gone out have played a part.
Could you just tell us the common tools that Apollo uses in digital marketing, the basic tools that everybody uses? In addition to that, do you have any other plan? Digital marketing at Apollo Clinicals, what does it mean to you?
Through digital marketing is an integral part of everything that we do. So something new that we launch, say if there's a new machine that's come in for surgery or for radiation, when I will go to the people with it, like introducing it. We usually do it through a press conference, which again is a difficult thing to do at the moment. But digital marketing, putting that on the social media, putting it in the social media with, and it's an advantage because see, the number of users of social media has, if anything has happened, has gone up during this lockdown period. More people are probably
Yes,
getting
true.
more time to stay hooked to their phones. So, and everyone uses. We are present in all the common on all the common platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So we keep bombarding, there with multiple content of, it's
So
basically what
even
we
if
call
you are,
artwork.
yeah, sorry to interrupt. Even if you are putting on the messages on the social media, initially you do it, you declare any launch of a machine or anything through press conference. The
Yeah,
one that we have
simultaneously.
studied in our academics that we call one of the important tools of PR, press conference, press
Yes.
release. Even you as a
Yeah.
student, you must have gone through
Yeah.
it. So we still stick to
Yes.
this. This is an old book, it's fine. You launch it in a
Yeah.
press conference and then you promote it in all social
Press
media. Because
conference is like old is gold. It's what happens is you take, say for a machine that is used in a surgery. If you take the surgeon there, you have to obviously ensure that the best people, best media houses attend your press conference. So there you have this opportunity to make the best in the business from the press meet the best in the business from the doctor's side. So all doubts can be cleared, and you can expect a good coverage the next day.
hospital PR is extremely technical, so the doctors have to interact with
Yes,
the media
yes,
directly.
yes.
We have a question from Priyadarshini Basu. She says, does digital marketing also include content writing, presentations, and YouTube videos, and putting messages through social media? Yes, the last part, sir just answered that yes, he definitely puts message through social media. So, does it include content writing, presentations?
Yes, it does. For, you see, when you develop an artwork that needs to go out in the form of a post on social media, one integral part of it is the content writing part of it. Other than the design, and there are some little tricks that you learn along the way, how it is to be put, how much of it should be text, how much of it should be uh, and pictures, images, and how kind of things you can do as a hospital, kind of uh, details that you can go into. So I'll give you an example. We had one of our agencies that works for our artwork had come up with something like, to boost your immunity, you should have turmeric, you should have garlic, those sort of things. But then in our department, we stopped it because we had our doubts. Can we do this? So we sent it to the director of medical services and said, no, this does not go with the image of Apollo at all. So this is a modern hospital with modern facilities. You have to say only what is very scientific. So those are the checks and balances that are in place. And as far the question was concerned, yes, unless you have a very good command over the language, and we use vernacular communication a lot as well. So you have to be good in English and Bengali and Hindi probably when you work for a place like Apollo Gleneagles or Kolkata. And you have to be able to write Bengali in proper Bengali. It shouldn't be a translation of the English. It should be the transliteration of what you want to say in English, and vice versa.
So
Content
maybe,
writing is important, yes, in digital
so
marketing.
the proverb content is king holds good,
Yes,
be it
of course
hospital
it does.
PR or.
Yes.
So maybe if you would want to go back to your PowerPoint presentation, or should we continue with the discussion?
No, I think we can continue with the discussion. What I wanted to say was, because let's just wrap that part up. Uh, the thing is, what? So how did we go about it? We had a problem at hand. We had our we drew the right kind of content. Like, these are the things that are troubling the people. This is the message that needs to go out. We selected the tools. We used our whatever expertise we have, whatever contacts we have, and ensured that it goes out to the right people. And probably, if you there's something called ROI. It's called return on investment. So you've invested your money. You've also invested your money, your time, your intellect, and you've used your brand. So now, if you see, inpatients, admissions going up, OPD going up, it probably means that it was successful. So this is the model I wanted to present to you. It's not just about, it's not Apollo. It could have been any other hospital. Like, in the form of an example, I just gave you what was the problem, what we did, the processes we followed, and the results we got.
All right.
There's a long way to go. We are not back to normal, but this process is on.
Maybe we could wrap up the session with a few words on crisis management. Fortunately, probably you might have not fallen into a crisis of that sort. But if we consider pandemic as a crisis.
Yeah, it's a very sensitive question, because Apollo in 2017 and 18, it went through one of its worst periods, and then unfortunately for Apollo, I was on the other side, and I was a cause of a lot of their concern, and many people like us. So that at that point, what do you do when something like that happens? When you get bad press, it can be the fault of one single person in your whole system, or it can be the system itself is wrong. It's not just about Apollo. It's happened in many other hospitals. Many other hospitals have faced this, which led to, the formation of the West Bengal Clinical Establishment Regulatory Commission by the Chief Minister in 2016 or 17. 17, I guess. So when a crisis happens, you can't stop it. So the audiovisual media will be there. You have to do whatever you can to sort of just let the initial crisis pass over. You have nothing to do at the point. Anyone can say anything, but on that day, if something as devastating as a baby dying because of medical negligence or alleged medical negligence, all the papers, all the audiovisual channels will carry it the next day. You can't stop it. Whatever connections you have, you can't. So the process of rebuilding your image has to start from that very day itself. I mean, you can't do anything about it on that day, but the process of thinking what can be done. The right messages have to go out to the media. It's very difficult, because at that point, say for a top hospital which has been drawn into something like this, you want to say you want to just give your point of view. No one's going to listen to you. So you have to keep trying. Next day, the day after, somehow you have to convince one reporter maybe of a good channel or of a good paper to listen to your side of the story. Only if that happens can they go to the next step and convince their bosses in office, the chief reporters or the bureau chiefs, and get your point across maybe at some point. Slowly, if you spread that to other media, so there are some small media, news portals. You have to learn to use news portals. They're very, very powerful now. It's a very bad time for newspapers for various reasons. And news portals are read by people, lots of people. So if you can rope in 5 or 6 of those portals, the change can start with a drop, but then that drop has to come somewhere, and then it will pick up, and bad times have to go. And then when something like this happens, you have to try and bombard, again, I'm using that word, the social media, which is easy because you don't have to ask anyone. What you post on your Facebook page, you don't have to ask anyone. You can post what you want. So if you have good stories, success stories, this is something that we did. This is something that I wanted to say during the course of this session. we had some fantastic cases, that happened during this pandemic. I'll give you one example, which also has your partly social media is involved. Uh, there was a boy, 25-year-old boy, who stays in Assam, who's studying here. His parents are there. Lockdown was on, so he couldn't go back to them. He had a funny feeling in his tongue for a few days. It got bad. He could not find any means of communication to come to the hospital from his home. So he cycled to the hospital. On his bicycle, he came to the hospital, showed the doctor. The doctor saw, and there was a biopsy done, and it came out that it was a cancer of the tongue, and it had to be dealt with very fast. So what the doctor did in this case was he made a video call to the boy's father in Assam, to his parents, and explained the situation. He got the consent for the surgery on that video call. The surgery was performed. The next day, when the boy regained his consciousness, he made another video call this time, and we filmed that. He did that on his own personal mobile phone, from the bedside of the son, and made him wave to the parents. So stories like that. This was carried by Andhra Patrika. Yes, tell me.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry to ask this, but they got the permission over video conference. But regarding the payment, the money, they made it a
But
transfer,
obviously, see, if you're getting a service,
online transfer.
I'm not sure about that, but they must have paid. So that goes without question. When you're taking a service, you will pay, and Apollo is an expensive hospital. So that is, and you get good service here. That is probably why the person did not cycle to some other facility, private or government, and came here, because he knew that he'll probably walk out fine.
So that story was covered in ABP with quite.
Yes. That was a part of one of the slides that I showed you. So I can show that slide once
Yeah,
more.
could we see the video, or maybe if we have the video, or
video I don't have readily with me,
yeah.
But I'll try to.
So this is really a big story. I mean, such stories really help carry on with the.
Can you see this story on the bottom right?
Yes. Yeah.
This is the boy.
ক্যান্সার অস্ত্রোপচারের সম্মতি মিলল ভিডিও কলে.
Yes. So there are other stories like this also that we highlighted. There was a little boy who came from Mizoram, 45-day-old boy, 45 days.
45 days old.
45 days old, fever. They could not understand what's going on, so he was airlifted to Kolkata. I had very high connections. That's why he could be airlifted. High connections back in Mizoram, where he is from, and they sort of he had a rare fungal infection inside his heart on the upper chamber, on the upper left chamber. I think there was a fungal infection. It was a very critical surgery. It was an open heart surgery for a 45-day-old boy, and it was taken out. It was very delicate, because had the cancerous tumor that had formed gone into the blood, he would have gone into the brain, and he would have had a hemorrhage and a stroke, and would have died. So that surgery and the post-surgery care, such a big surgery happening in such a little baby, the post-surgery care was very important, which was again done here by our neonatal team. Fantastic neonatal team that we have here, and that story again was covered by ABP. So see, you have ABP, Anandabazar Patrika, the highest circulating newspaper in Kolkata, carrying these stories. It is just because of the merit of the stories, and that again is your content. So when you get that content, you have to know how to write it, how to channelize it, where to put it, and only then can the results come.
And not only that, this discussion, this conversation helped me add one knowledge to my vocabulary, that PR is just not making videos or sharing the posts. Just now you said that only because you had good contacts with the Mizoram government or whoever, you were able to arrange for the airlift of the baby. So this
The baby happened to be, I can't give you the details, but of a very
influential family.
influential person in the government in Mizoram. That was fortunate for him because that is why he could, with the lockdown on, he could still be brought here. It was only because of that. That was lucky for him.
If we could also include it in our PR tool list, that unless we have contacts in this area also, if
Yeah.
it is a hospital PR, so it could be
So
that.
the hospital PR had nothing to do with it. I mean,
Okay,
just
it was
landed
taking care of
on
the
Earth.
government.
Yes,
Okay,
landed here, and we were happy to be able to help him.
but they chose Apollo Clinicals. That is
Yes, that they would.
such
I
a
mean,
reputed family choosing Apollo Clinicals. That I
we have
mean,
hundreds of cases like this. Another example was of a woman from Jharkhand who had a pregnancy, and in one of your USGs, it was shown that the boy, the baby girl, in this case, had a rare problem where the diaphragm. You know what the diaphragm is? Diaphragm is something here. Because of the diaphragm, it's a muscle. Because it does this, you breathe in and out. So the diaphragm had an opening, and all his organs that should have been in the abdomen came up to the chest. One of the lungs was compressed, the heart was pushed to a side. So the baby needed an immediate surgery after birth. So they were referred here again. And because we knew that this condition was there and we were prepared that the surgery would have to take place, immediately. So the baby breathed just once. After breathing once, it stopped. But we were prepared. So we took him to the operation theater straight away. The doctor sort of put the things that should have been in the abdomen back in the abdomen and sealed it up. And again, the neonatal care was very important, but the baby came out fine. So these are kind of success stories we had, and we have been able to, showcase them, put them.
yeah, these success stories are nothing but content. Because you had content, it helped in
Yes,
your PR.
because we had content, we could play with it. And when you have content, you have to identify the content. That's why we had this slide with Sherlock Holmes looking, and you have to be able to look. You have to be able to find what is worth your while, and then you have to play it up. You have to choose the right tools, and yeah, you'll get success that way. I mean, it's just it's theory basically. If you think it's theory actually, but it's theory, but it actually happens as well. So we've seen it happen.
One last question, and then maybe we'll be able to wrap up this session. This is from Kevin Nisar. How can a PR campaign be successfully conducted?
For a PR campaign to be successful, you have to know what you're promoting. That you have to have in-depth product knowledge, what we call. So if you know the product well, you have your tools in place. Then comes your content writing is very important. The content of what you're going to give out in whatever medium, digital media, radio, print, even if you organize a press conference, you have to have a good press release, and it's very difficult to write a good press release. Hardly any PR person, when we used to get, when I was on the other side in Telegraph, people here listening, the students who are interested in writing good print copies for the print media, just remember one thing: the intro is very important. The headline is important. The intro is very important. The intro should not be the first line or the first segment of a chronological sequence of events that you're going to relate. No, the headline will be the most important part of your story. Then, after the intro, where you've got the interest of the readers captured, then you can come back to the chronology. But you have to start with the crux of the matter, which does not happen in most press releases that go out to the print media nowadays. This is something that you can keep in mind.
Yeah, so probably the age-old thing, inverted pyramid, the 5 W's and 1 H
Yes.
in the intro.
Yeah, we studied that when we were in university. I studied at Calcutta University, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication. Some of the things that we were taught there have stayed with us and have stood us in good stead. And these are things that will not change. But these are things, unfortunately, that are not followed. We know these things. Probably everyone knows the inverted pyramid and the 5 Ws and 1 H, but it's hardly ever followed. So what I'm saying is that you follow it. You follow it, and you'll get results. These are tried and tested things.
So, shall we end the session? Does any of the attendees have any other question? If we do not have any more question, we can wrap up the session. We are absolutely on time. We started exactly at 5, and it's just 1 minute to 6. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me, and I enjoyed.
I would just, I haven't introduced you to our HOD, Professor Debanjan Banerjee. Debanjan sir, could you please unmute yourself, turn on your video, and I would request Professor Suman Bandyopadhyay, our another faculty member, assistant professor, if you could please turn on your video and let us have a more familiar interaction with Mr. Rith Basu. We will very soon invite him at our college campus, provided the pandemic and all gets over. But till then, yeah, it will get over. Till then, if we could at least have a virtual interaction, Debanjan sir, Shumon sir, Sharad sir, if any one of you would like to turn on your video and have an introduction. So, Shumon sir, if you could turn on your video, please. Debanjan sir, we are able to see you. I'm just waiting.
Mr. Banerjee. You're not audible. If you can unmute yourself.
Yes.
Shumon sir, I would request Professor Shumon Bandyopadhyay to deliver the vote of thanks. Shumon sir, if you could unmute yourself and turn on your video, please. We are just waiting for Shumon sir. Debanjan sir is also our senior in Calcutta University.
Shumali, can you hear me?
Yes, you are audible, Debanjan sir. Yes, you are audible.
Thank you, Mr. Basu, for coming at this webinar and enlighten us. Not only us, our students, especially at this critical and crucial juncture. You have given your precious time to our department and our students. So, thank you so much for conducting this webinar, and thank you, Shumali ma'am, for hosting this. Many of our students have now the real life experience of how to handle the crisis situation, what exactly the press release is, because we basically teach our students in the classroom, but your experience is really a very valuable experience when you're really dealing this pandemic at this most critical and crucial juncture. And you are in fact another COVID warrior, in fact, we can say, because you are facing the problem in front of you. The victim families are coming, the affected families are coming to you, and you are giving the solution to them. So thank you so much. We would like to hear you more from not only from webinar. We would like to see you at our campus to take some special workshop and classes for our public relations advertising students, because we have a postgraduate program and an undergraduate program, and we have a specialization called advertising, PR, and event management. And maximum students nowadays speak this specialization. So naturally, we would like to hear you. We will be formally inviting you at our campus to take some sessions. Thank you so much, sir, for coming and enlightening us. And we are from the same department. Yeah. I'm also in the same department. Yes. So I was a pass out of 1998.
Shumon sir is here.
Okay.
Professor Shumon Bandyopadhyay.
Thank you so much, Mr. Basu. And you have correctly mentioned that content has to be very, very strong always. And we have seen that all those Apollo clinical staffs have been working wonderfully under this COVID situation. And you have also wonderfully, you have made a separate COVID building. Wonderful staff management is there, and also a separate emergency system for the COVID infected patients also. These are all wonderful jobs, and also we have seen the wonderfully done or developed videos and the jingles which you have seen and heard, and the interesting also the inputs which has already been published in the newspapers. So that is really a wonderful job. And also you have mentioned another very important thing, that is the relationship in the brand and the media is also very, very important. So thank you so much, and thank you for your meaningful insights. And you have spent quite a lot of time with the students also. Thank you so much again.
Yes.
Over to you,
Thank
Shomali
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Rith sir, if you could wrap up the session in your own words, that would be all the more better.
Yes, I once again thank all of you for the kind words that you've just shared with everyone on this webinar. For the students who are listening, I hope this session has been beneficial. It's just that once more I'm repeating myself for probably for the fourth or fifth time. But the thing is that content is the absolute captain of your communication. What you need to do is identify your problem, identify which are the strong points that need to go out to make you come out of this situation, and then use the tools at hand in a very astute manner, using your brains to make the maximum impact. So if you're able to do that, it's easier said than done. You are just at the the first stepping stone of your careers. Wish you all the best, and that you go along.
Just one more minute of your time.
Yes,
Could
sure.
you just, there are many students among the attendees, I can see many student participants. So when you had completed your media education and just joined the industry, the clash or the culture clash, or should I say the initial struggling days, in just a minute or so,
See,
whether it was really a struggle or whether it was...
No, it was not a struggle for me, but I'm very fortunate in that way, because I did my education from St. Xavier's School and then college, where I studied English honors. Then I came to journalism and mass communication at CU. First year gone, second year halfway, I appeared for an exam at UNI, United News of India, which is a which is a news agency. This is not a PR agency. This is a news agency who distributes news like PTI. UNI distributes news to all the newspapers and media. So I sort of somehow I topped that. I topped again the interview, and then I was faced with a situation: should I join or should I not join? Because 6 months was left here, projects. Devanjan sir would probably agree, know, and all of you, many of you would know that those projects were very
final projects,
heavy work. So I was really in two minds, and you needed 75% attendance to be able to write that exam at the end of the year. So I had requested all our professors to please give me attendance, although I'm not attending, and I'll be in Delhi because my appointment was in Delhi. So it wasn't a struggle for me. The only struggle was whether I'll be able to come back and write the exam, whether they'll give me those percentage attendance or not, which few did not. The people I did not expect not to give, they did not give, but others whom I had not expected gave, or in any way. I had 75%, and I could write the exam. I came back and then went back again to Delhi. So I stayed in Delhi for about 2 years before coming back to Calcutta and joining Telegraph.
So because you have been able to top that exam, so at the end of the day, again, content is king. You have to be sound with your academics, and then only the life is without any struggles.
No, that's not true. See, some of the brilliant students in journalism are not doing so well. But you have to be hands-on in journalism. In journalism at least. In print media or audiovisual media, you have to be hands-on, I think. Not so much maybe in
emphasizing more on hands-on.
Yes, you top that exam. Part 2 CU journalism and mass communication. You top that exam doesn't mean that you'll find a job. You probably will struggle either way. But to have sound academics is good. You can at least go into research. You can become a professor like yourself. So those avenues would be open only if you get 60% at least. Otherwise, it's bye-bye from there. Is it still 60%? It used to be 60%.
No, it's 55%.
55%, okay.
and all that.
Okay, sir. Thank you so
Very
much.
few,
I mean,
because I'll just make one more point. Because it is this time of pandemic, and many of the final year students, I know it would have probably been a cakewalk for many of you to just walk into a job, but the situation is different. But don't lose heart, because things will change, things will pick up. We can't go any more down, so it has to be up from here. Don't lose heart and keep working. I think it will be good for all of us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
thank you,
Thank you.
sir.